I didn't mean to hurt you. I just didn't care enough not to. She laughed after I confronted her about cheating. I started packing without a word. She stopped laughing and went pale. I said, I didn't mean to leave you. I just don't care enough not to. And walked out. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. And if you have your own story to share, send it to me. My contact info is in the description below. I'd love to feature it in an upcoming video. Thanks. The key was under the mat, right where I told her it would be. My flight home from the Denver conference had been cancelled, then reinstated, leaving me landing at midnight instead of 4 p.m. I texted her from the airport, but got no reply. Not unusual for a Friday night. She was probably out with the girls, phone buried in the bottom of some glittery clutch. I just wanted my bed. The silence of my apartment was a relief after 3 days of forced networking. I dropped my suitcase by the door. The thud too loud in the stillness. That's when I saw them. 2 wine glasses on the coffee table. One with a lipstick smear, the color of crushed berries. Her color. A man's leather jacket was slung over the back of her reading chair. A jacket I didn't own. A cold, humming void opened in my chest. I walked robot-like down the hall. Our bedroom door was ajar. The scene was a cliche. Her sleeping form back to me and the Hmong silhouette of a man beside her. His arm was draped over her waist. On the floor, a condom wrapper glinted in the streetlight, bleeding through the blinds. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. The hum in my chest just got louder, drowning out everything. I backed out silently, went to the living room, and sat on the couch right next to the dirty glasses. I waited. An hour later, I heard a shuffle. The bathroom light went on, then off. He came patting out, shirtless, stopping dead when he saw me. He was younger, with the carefully maintained stubble of a guy who tries hard to look like he doesn't. He didn't say a word, just hurried back down the hall. I heard frantic whispering. Maya emerged alone, wrapped in her silk robe, her face a mask of panic hardening into defiance. The guy, Jake, I'd learn later, slipped past me with his jacket and shoes, not making eye contact, and let himself out. The door clicked shut. The silence returned, now charged and sick. How long? My voice sounded foreign, calm, and flat. Leo. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. How long? Maya. She crossed her arms, hugging herself. A few times. It doesn't mean anything. Months. Weeks. 3 months. A laugh. Bitter and sharp. Tried to claw its way up my throat. I swallowed it. 3 months. I'd been in Denver presenting the project that would secure my team's funding. The project I'd worked late on for weeks. The one she'd called your boring spreadsheets with a teasing kiss. I'd thought the kiss was affection. Now I knew it was dismissal. Why? She threw her hands up. Why? Because you're here, but you're not here. You're always in your head with your work, with your quietness. Jake is present. He's exciting. So this is my fault. I didn't say that. God, you always do this. Twist things to make me the villain. She paced, the robe fluttering. It just happened. I didn't plan it. I just watched her. I saw the girl I'd moved cities for. The woman whose father I'd driven to chemotherapy every week for a month. The person I'd imagined a future with dissolving before me into a stranger performing an old, tired script. Are you in love with him? What? No. It's different. Do you want to be with him? I don't know. Maybe it's new. I need to figure it out. I nodded slowly. The hum was crystallizing into a single clear note. Okay. Okay. What's okay? She looked confused, like I'd skipped a page in the argument she'd rehearsed. You should figure it out. I stood up and walked toward our bedroom. The bedroom? Where are you going? Her voice sharpened, chasing me. I didn't answer. I went to the closet and pulled out my old duffel bag from the top shelf. Then I went to my dresser. Socks, boxers, t-shirts, jeans. I packed methodically, folding nothing, just placing them inside. What are you doing? She was in the doorway. Now, her voice rising an octave. I moved past her to the bathroom. Toothbrush, a razor, deodorant, the spare contact lens case. I dropped them into the do kit. Stop it, she demanded, following me back into the bedroom. Stop this right now. Are you seriously packing a bag? You're going to leave over this? I unzipped my suitcase from the hallway, the one I'd lived out of for 3 days, and started transferring the contents of the duffel into it. Work clothes, dress shoes, my portfolio. Leo talked to me. It was just sex. You're being ridiculous. I finally turned to look at her. The defiance was still there, but it was cracking at the edges, revealing the panic beneath. She couldn't control the narrative if I refused to read my lines. Just say something, she shouted, the words bouncing off the walls. I took a slow breath. The clear note in my head was a command. Do not engage. Just go. I need to understand. I said, my voice still. That terrible, even calm. So, you're saying you didn't intend to hurt me? No. Of course I didn't intend to. God. She let out a frustrated, nervous sound. A half laugh. A scoff. It was meant to diminish me, to frame my pain as an overreaction to her casual transgression. I didn't mean to hurt you. I just didn't care enough not to. There it was. The core of it, polished and offered up with a shrug. Not malice, but absolute trivial indifference. My love, my trust of 5 years, they weren't worth the minimal effort of caring enough not to break them. Something settled in me, then final. Like a heavy bolt sliding home, I turned back to my suitcase and zipped it shut. The sound was definitive. I picked it up, hefted my laptop bag onto my shoulder. I walked toward the front door. Her confusion had morphed into real fear. She planted herself between me and the door. Wait, you're actually leaving just like that? Where will you go? I stopped looking at her, really looking. The woman I loved was gone. This was just the vessel she'd left behind. I saw the pale cast of her skin, the widening of her eyes as she realized I was not performing a tantrum. This was an exit. I didn't mean to leave you. I said, my voice low and perfectly level, a mirror held up to her own words. I just don't care enough not to. The last shred of color drained from her face. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. The laugh was gone. The defiance erased. She just looked hollow. I stepped around her, my movement gentle, but irrevocable. I opened the door. I did not look back. I stepped into the hallway, pulling the door closed behind me. It didn't slam. It clicked shut with a soft final sound, like the lid of a box being closed on something that was already dead. The hotel room smelled like citrus-scented cleaner and emptiness. I'd chosen the cheapest one near the airport, a place designed for transients. I sat on the edge of the stiff bed, my suitcase and laptop bag beside me like loyal, silent dogs. The humming in my chest had subsided, replaced by a vast, quiet static. I felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, just a hollow, resonant absence, as if the core of me had been surgically removed and I was left observing the empty cavity. I didn't cry. I just existed. I ordered a club sandwich from room service at 200 AM and ate it methodically, tasting nothing. I watched infomercials until the sun came up. The cheerful hosts a bizarre soundtrack to the end of my life as I knew it. In the grey morning light, the memories began to intrude. Not the good ones. Those would hurt too much. And my mind seemed to protectively block them. Instead, it offered up a flashback, sharp and unbidden. 2 years ago, Maya, tears streaming down her face, holding the positive test. It wasn't planned. We were scared. Ihil here. And my own heart pounding with a terrifying mix of dread and a strange budding hope. We'll figure it out, I'd said into her hair. Together. A week later, the miscarriage. She was devastated. A raw nerve of grief. I took 2 weeks off work. I cooked every meal. I held her during the night terrors. I fielded calls from her family. I sat in the bathroom with her while she cried on the floor. When she finally emerged, blinking in the sunlight, she'd squeezed my hand and said, I don't know what I would have done without you. I had let that sentence cement my identity for years. Her protector, her foundation, the one who stayed, now, in the sterile hotel room. The irony was a cold knife. The one who stayed was the one who had been deemed not present. The foundation was something you built upon until you wanted a different view. Then you left it buried without a second thought. The static in my head began to recede. replaced by a cold operational clarity, grief was a luxury. This was now a logistical problem. My phone buzz. A string of notifications from Maya. Where are you? This is insane. Come home so we can talk like adults. Leo. Answer me. You're really going to ghost me after everything. Fine. Be a child. I didn't block her. Not yet. I opened my banking app. I transferred my half of the last month's bills from our joint account into my personal one. I canceled the automatic payment for our upcoming vacation, the one to Costa Rica I'd been saving for as a surprise for our anniversary. The confirmation email felt like shedding a weight. Then I sent one text. I drafted it 3 times, stripping it of any emotion, any hook she could grab onto me. My belongings will be collected from the apartment Tuesday afternoon. Your key will be left with Building Superintendent Lopez. Please have anything you consider yours removed before then. Her reply was instantaneous. Maya WTF Leo. You're just giving up. You're not even going to fight for us. This is how little I meant to you. I put the phone face down. That was the last text of hers I would ever read. I methodically went through my social media. I untagged myself. I changed my relationship status to single. I unfollowed her, and then without drama, I blocked her on everything. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, even Spotify. It wasn't an act of anger. It was hygiene, removing a source of infection. Next. The friends, our mutual circle. I picked 3 I respected the most and sent nearly identical messages. Me, hey, just a heads up. Maya and I have split up. It was due to infidelity on her part. I don't wish to discuss the details, but I wanted you to hear it from me. I'm taking some space, but I value your friendship. The responses were a mix of shock, support, and awkward sympathy. I thanked them and didn't engage further. I was building a wall brick by Quiet Brick. Tuesday came. I hired a task service through an app. Tu Polita. Indifferent strangers in matching polo shirts packed the rest of my clothes. My books. My records. The set of chef's knives my father gave me. They put it all in storage. Unit number 3, 17. They left the key with Super Lopez. The entire operation cost me $389. It was the best money I'd ever spent. The next few weeks passed in a strange, peaceful rhythm. I extended my stay at the airport hotel, then found a furnished sublet downtown, a minimalist box with a view of other buildings. I went to work. I did my job. I came home. I started running along the river, the pounding of my feet on the pavement, a meditation. The silence in my apartment was no longer empty. It was clean. The first ripple of karma came 3 weeks later via Derek, one of the mutual friends I'd messaged. We met for a beer. His idea. So he said, shifting uncomfortably after the first sip, "You've really gone dark. Man, just focusing." I said, on what? On not focusing on the past. He nodded, then leaned in slightly. Look, I probably shouldn't tell you this, but since you're so calm, things aren't great with Maya. Jake. I took a sip. I said nothing. My silence was an invitation for him to continue, not out of curiosity, but because I understood he needed to unload. She moved him in like a week after he left. Big drama. But the guy is a mess. Lost his bartending job, showed up drunk or not at all. I heard from Sarah that he's got a bit of a record, petty theft, disorderly conduct. I remained quiet. And Ma is not the same. She posted all these new chapter pics with him. But last week she posted this vague quote about trusting the wrong people, then deleted it. Sarah said she saw them screaming at each other in a parking lot. He threw a takeout bag at her car. I felt a distant abstract pity, the kind you feel for a character in a movie making obviously terrible choices. It had no connection to me. Sounds unstable. I said, finally, my voice neutral. Yeah. No kidding. You dodged a bullet. Men, I didn't agree or disagree. A bullet implies something was shot at you. This felt more like I'd voluntarily stepped off a path that was crumbling ahead of me. Anyway, that night, back in my quiet sublet, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Unknown. Leo. It's Maya. I know you blocked me. Please. I made a huge mistake. Can we just talk? I'm so sorry for what I said. What I did, I'm so sorry. The words sat there on the screen, glowing in the dark room. I felt nothing. No thrill. No schadenfreude. No softening. Her apology was a pebble thrown into the ocean of my indifference. I didn't reply. I didn't block the number. I simply swiped the notification away. The screen went dark, reflecting my own placid expression back at me. The silence once again was absolute, and for the first time since I'd found those wine glasses, it felt like mine. The silence after her first text wasn't a tactic. It was simply my new state of being. Her words entered the atmosphere of my life and dissipated like smoke in a vast open space. I didn't feel strong or vindicated. I felt free. The shackles hadn't been broken in a dramatic struggle. I'd simply realized they were never locked, and I'd walked away from them. My life began to refill. Not with noise, but with substance. I signed up for a woodworking course at the community centre. Something I'd always talked about with Maya, who'd called it a dusty old man hobby. The smell of sawdust and the focus required to make a straight cut were a meditation. I reconnected with Ben, a college friend she deemed too cynical, and we started hiking every Sunday. The conversations were easy, punctuated by comfortable silences as we climbed. I didn't talk about her, he didn't ask. Meanwhile, the world of my past continued to combust without me. The updates came sparingly through the reluctant grapevine of mutual acquaintances who seemed to need to confirm the train wreck. Jake's unraveling was swift and public. A friend of a friend posted a blurry, dramatic video from a downtown bar 2 months after I'd left. It was Jake, shirtless and screaming, being pinned to the hood of a police cruiser. The caption read, dude tried to fight the bouncer. The bartender and the cops. Yikes. I scrolled past. It was someone else's tragedy. Then came the first flying monkey. It was a call from Lacey, Mia's closest friend, and a woman who had always viewed me as a mildly disappointing accessory to Mia's life. Leo. Hi. God. It's been a while. Her voice was saccharine with false warmth. Lacey. I was in my workshop sanding the edge of a maple serving board. Listen. I'm calling as a friend to you both. I know what Maya did was unforgivable. I didn't affirm or deny. I kept sanding. The rhythmic swish swish was a calming counterpoint to her voice. But she's really in a bad way. That guy, Jake, he was a monster. He maxed out a credit card. He gave her a black eye before he got arrested. She's devastated and alone. Swish. Swish. She's learned her lesson. Leo, a really hard one. I think if you just heard her out, it might help her heal. She still loves you. You know, she's just so lost. I put the sander down. The wood was smooth under my fingertips. I appreciate you reaching out. Latte. I said, my voice even. But my decision is final. I hope she finds the support she needs. The subtext was clear from someone else. There was a long pause. My politeness had disarmed her script. You're really that cold? She finally said, the sweetness evaporating. I'm that resolved. I corrected gently. Take care. The next attempt was more direct. A voicemail from Maya's sister, Chelsea. A woman whose approval I'd spent years fruitlessly chasing. Leo. It's Chelsea. Look, I never got involved in your guys' stuff, but this is too far. She messed up. Okay, people make mistakes, but you abandoning her completely when she's at her lowest, that's not the man I thought you were. That Jay Creep is in jail where he belongs, but she's the one doing life sentence in her own head. Have some compassion. Call her. I deleted the voicemail. The man she thought I was a fiction. A placid, accommodating figure who existed to stabilize her sister. That man was gone. The final desperate data point came not through a person, but through the digital haze, out of morbid curiosity. One slow evening, Ben pulled up Jake's public court records on his laptop. There it was. Multiple charges from the bar fight, plus a previous warrant for violating a restraining order from another ex-girlfriend. The man was a pattern, not an anomaly. Maya hadn't traded up for excitement. She jumped from a stable platform onto a known fault line. Then my phone lit up with a local number. I let it go to voicemail. An hour later, I listened. It was Maya, but not the pleading, shattered woman from the texts. This voice was raw, ragged, and crackling with a fury that had finally broken through the victim facade. You know what? Leo, fine. You win. You're the perfect stoic martyr. I get it. Her words were slurred either by drink or tears. I'm the villain. I'm the crazy who ruined everything, but you were never capable of real love. Were you? Real love forgives. Real love fights. You just leave. You're a ghost. A pleasant polite ghost. I lost everything. Everything. And you can't even pick up the phone to tell me I got what I deserved. You're a coward. A cold, heartless coward. I'm better off. Do you hear me? I am better off. The message ended with a muffled crash. Like something being thrown, then sobbing, then a dial tone. I saved the voicemail, not out of sentiment. But as a reminder, this was the authentic core. Once the performance of remorse failed to get a reaction, this was the anger of a person who believed their consequences should be someone else's responsibility to alleviate. The last vestige of any softness inside me, petrified, turning to stone. She had shown me her truth twice now. First in her indifference, then in her Rage. I believed her both times. That weekend, I finished the maple serving board. I oiled it and it glowed. The grain, rich and deep. Ben came over and I grilled steaks. We ate off my new creation. As we sat on my sublet small balcony, the city lights twinkling, a deep, unshakable peace settled over me. The noise from my past was a distant fading echo. Here, in the quiet present, I was building something real, one straight cut, one calm day at a time. The stage was set. The final act wasn't mine to perform, but I knew with a certainty that felt like fate that she would try to drag me back into her play one last time, and I knew with even greater certainty that I would have no lines left to speak. 6 months to the day after I walked out, I was waiting for a chord to do at the grind. A coffee shop near my new office, the sublet was gone. I'd leased a modern, airy apartment with a view of the river and space for a proper workshop. The maple board had been the first of many projects. The silence there was my own, filled with the music I chose, or the satisfying quiet of creation. Ben was running late, so I'd ordered first. Scrolling idly through architectural plans for a custom bookcase on my phone, I was at peace. Not the fragile quiet of the hotel room, but a solid, earned tranquility. The bell on the shop door jingled. I glanced up out of habit. It was Maya. She stood frozen just inside the doorway, silhouetted against the grey afternoon light. She looked diminished. The vibrant, careless woman who'd laughed at my pain was gone. This woman was thinner, her shoulders hunched inside a coat that seemed too big. Her eyes, scanning for a seat, landed on me and widened. A kaleidoscope of emotions twisted her features. Hope. A frantic calculation. Deep shame. I watched it play out from a distance as if observing a curious animal. I felt nothing. No pull spike. No cold flush. Just a mild observational interest in what she would do next. She walked toward me. My table was by the window. A small two-top. There was no escape route for her. No ambiguous approach. It was a direct line. Leo. Her voice was a scrap of sound. Rough from disuse or crying. I gave a single, slow nod. Maya. She flinched at the neutrality. It was worse than hatred. You look really good. It was true. The running and the woodworking had leaned me out. The constant tension she'd brought into my life had evaporated from my face. I looked rested. Thank you. I said as if she'd complimented a stranger's tie. Can I? Her hand gestured weakly to the empty chair across from me. I'm waiting for a friend. Not a yes. A simple fact. Just for a second. Please. The please was brittle. I inclined my head. A minute concession. She sat, perching on the edge of the chair, like a bird ready to flee. Her hands twisted a napkin from the dispenser. She looked at my hands, my face, my coffee cup, anywhere but directly into my eyes, which held only a calm, unblinking focus. I don't even know where to start. She took a shuddering breath. Everything fell apart. Everything. What I said to you that night, it was the worst thing I've ever said to anyone. It wasn't true. I was trying to hurt you because I felt so guilty. I was a coward. I listened. I didn't nod. Didn't encourage. Didn't interrupt. I was a lake absorbing a pebble. It sank without a ripple. Jake. He was a con man. An abuser. He took money. He hit me. She said this last part quickly. as if testing it as a key to my sympathy. My expression didn't change. He's in jail now for a long time. I think, and I'm so alone. My friends, they don't get it. Lacey just says, I told you so. Chelsea is sick of my drama. She gave a wet, pathetic laugh. I'm in therapy now, really doing the work. She finally looked up, her eyes searching mine for a crack, a flicker of the old Leo. The protector, the one who absorbed her pain, she found only a polite, impenetrable surface. I've relived that night 1,000 times. She whispered, tears welling. I was an idiot, a cruel, selfish idiot. I threw away the best thing I ever had because I was bored and stupid and he gave me cheap attention. I am so sorry. Leo, not just for cheating, for the words, for making you feel like you were nothing. You were everything. The barista called my name. I stood, collected my cord to do from the counter, and returned to the table. I didn't offer to get her anything. I took a slow sip, the rich bitterness grounding me in the present. This moment, this closure is there. She gathered her courage, a desperate hope lighting her tear-streaked face. Is there any chance, even for a coffee, just to talk? Not now, but sometime. I'd understand if you hated me forever, but maybe we could find a way to be civil. Or I'd take anything, just a chance to show you I'm not that person anymore. This was her final play. The full vulnerability, the admitted fault, the promise of change. It was a good performance. It might have worked on the old me. I set my cup down with a soft click. I looked at her, really looked, and saw not the ghost of my past love, but a sad, stranded woman who'd burned her own life down and was now smelling smoke on the wind of mine. You told me the truth that night. Maya, I said, my voice low, Eva. And perfectly clear, you didn't care enough. That wasn't you being cruel. That was you being honest for the first time in a long time. She opened her mouth to protest, but I continued the steady rhythm of my words. A wall. She couldn't scale. That truth gave me the clarity I needed to leave. It was the only gift you gave me in those last months. I paused, letting the brutal kindness of that statement settle. I don't mean to hurt you by saying this, but that same truth means I don't care enough to revisit it, to relitigate the past. There's nothing for us to build from. There's only ash. Her face collapsed, the hope gutted out, leaving a hollow despair. So that's it. You don't feel anything. I feel peace. I said it was the most honest and devastating thing I could have told her. I genuinely hope your therapy helps you find yours. At that moment, Ben pushed through the door, spotting me. He gave a quick wave, his eyes flicking to Maya with brief neutral recognition before looking back to me. A question in his raise of his brows. I gave him a small, genuine smile, one she hadn't seen in years, and turned back to her for the last time. My friend is here. I have to go. I stood picking up my coffee. Take care of yourself. Maya, it was the kiss off of a stranger. Apolite. Terminal farewell. I walked to the counter to meet Ben. I heard the scrape of her chair. A choked sound. I didn't turn. Ben clapped me on the shoulder. You good? Man, never better. I said, and I meant it. Ready to go? As we walked out into the crisp afternoon, I didn't wonder what she was doing. I didn't feel her stare on my back. I was already gone. Had been for months. The man she was begging for no longer existed. He had walked out one night, and in his place stood someone she would never know. Someone who had built a life piece by steady piece on a foundation of quiet dignity far away from the noise of her consequences. The last thread was cut, not with a shout, but with a quiet, definitive truth. And the silence that followed was finally completely my own. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.